All right, folks. I thought I'd do a quick initial impressions of the Work Tough Gear Wilderness Warrior and compare it against a somewhat similar knife, the Work Tough Gear Mountain Lion. So let's get into it. So seems like a good kind of field knife, general purpose knife. It's not too heavy. It's relatively lightweight compared to the Mountain Lion, which I'll get into. The handle design is good. I would like to see a little bit of palm swell in the middle of the grip. I do notice that when I hold these two knives separately, that the Mountain Lion is just a little bit more comfortable in the hand for me. And then you've got this kind of glass breaker attitude adjuster on the bottom with the lanyard hole. You've got a nice big guard up here, and you've got thumb cutouts. Now, one thing I noticed immediately about the thumb cutouts is they're not as good as some of the other Work Tough Gear knives. If I put my thumb here, you can see it doesn't really go into the thumb cutout. They're almost too steep. If I bring my thumb up here, and then another grip that I really like to have with all my knives is putting my thumb up like this. And there's a kind of a abrupt corner right here that makes it quite uncomfortable to put my thumb up right there. And if I try to put my thumb here, it's not really that comfortable either. So I think what I would do is shallow this groove a bit and have it come maybe all the way up towards the spine. Just make it more shallow and up this way, and I think it would work a lot better. The jimping's really nice, actually. It catches your hand, but it's not aggressive, and it's not uncomfortable. I know my Work Tough Gear asset I found the jimping very uncomfortable, and this is very, very comfortable, so I like that. You've got a finger choil here, which is kind of uniquely designed when you compare it to the Mountain Lion. It's kind of almost more modern looking. It's not quite as deep, so your finger's going to be closer to that edge. I just got to be careful of that. But the way Vic grounded, he ground it kind of up on an angle, so it's unlikely to happen. But yeah, feels pretty good in this grip, I would say. And yeah, pinch grip isn't comfortable. Those cutouts just aren't good. Sorry to say. They're just way too steep. They need to be much more shallow. Like, it doesn't really do anything. I just find my thumb still kind of uncomfortable. That's unfortunate. The aesthetics of the knife are very nice. Got this hunter orange liners, jungle camo, and then he put more of a swedge on this version. This is the Gen 2B, I believe they're calling it. There's a bit more of a swedge on it. It's still got a flat spine there at the top of the swedge, which is better for batoning. If you had no swedge, it'd be better for batoning, but I think this is more kind of a tactical kind of knife more than anything. The steel is Buller K329, which is a steel I've learned to love. It's insanely tough. I've beat the heck out of K329 in multiple knives, and especially my Work Tough Gear Nomad Bushcrafter, which has a thinner stock than this, and I've just beat the heck out of it, and it keeps coming back for more. Holds the knife really well too. So I'm a big fan of K329. It's just a little more stainless. A fair amount more stainless than 1095. So I don't have to worry about it rusting that much at all. You get little spots of rust if you don't take care of it, but they're easy to wipe off, to be honest. What else is there to say about this guy? You got that drop point with the swedge, which is great for stabbing. Makes that knife look really cool too. It looks kind of like a Rambo knife. For anyone who doesn't know much about this knife, the blade length to the grip is just under 7 inches, like 6.9 something inches. And then the actual blade length from the cutting edge length from the start of the blade to the tip is about 6 inches. So plenty of blade to do with lots of tasks. And then you can always move up on the blade if you're skinning a deer or whatever. If you want to, you can even move up even further if you want to do a grip like this, where you got your ring finger in there, and you can do a lot of fine kind of cutting and stuff that way, which is good for processing game if you're going to use this for an all-round knife, which was kind of my goal when buying it. It comes with a Kydex sheath. OD green, looks really good. I find it clicks kind of funny into the sheath. Let's see if I can do this one-handed here. Anyways, it's just kind of awkward to get into the sheath, I noticed. We'll see how that works once it's on my belt. Maybe it'll be fine, but I think it's just the handle design makes it a little bit more awkward to get into the sheath. And people notice I'm being pretty critical of this, but there's always positives and negatives to every knife, every piece of technology, so I'm just pointing those out for people. I really like the weight of this knife. It's much more light than the Mountain Lion. It feels very wieldy, fighty. Because of that, you're not going to have as much chopping power, but you can get pretty far back on this the bird's beak here. I'd say it feels comfortable to have three fingers, above the bird's beak, and just keep your pinky down here. Feels very comfortable for chopping. I think you could delimb no problem, but you're not going to be chopping through any big logs or anything with this, but it's not what it's intended for. And if you were going to chop through a big log with this, you would cross baton. So you would baton it with a piece of wood in and just chip away pieces. That'd be the most efficient way to do that with this type of knife. Okay. I'm going to pause this and we'll try to compare some stuff on the tabletop, because I don't think I can put these knives. Oh, this one stands up. Maybe this one will stand up too. Make it easy for me to compare the thickness of the blade. So you can see the Mountain Lion is much thicker of a blade. I'm not sure what it is in inches, but it's 6 millimeters, whereas I'm pretty sure the Wilderness Warrior is just under 5 millimeters. I think it's like 4.8 millimeters, something like that. So you got an extra millimeter and a bit of steel there on the Mountain Lion. You still, you've got a decent strong tip on the Wilderness Warrior, but obviously it's much more robust on the Mountain Lion, and it's still pretty stabby at the very tip, which is pretty good, but not as much as the Wilderness Warrior, no doubt. As we move back, you've got a bit more blade depth on this knife, so I'll try to get them right on top of one another and level here. Yeah, right about there. So you can see the Mountain Lion has just a few more millimeters, a couple more millimeters of blade depth, which it needs to taper down from that thick spine with the high saber grind. Now the Wilderness Warrior, I believe, has a high saber grind. I kind of look if you look closely at it, it kind of stops right about here, and then you've got these fullers there. So it's almost like a full flat, but it's still a high saber. I would consider it a high saber still. Mountain Lion has this nice big deep choil. Your finger just kind of melts into it. I'd say this feels a bit more comfortable. I'd say all of the positions with this handle feel more comfortable on the Mountain Lion to me. Probably because it's just, I would say it's a better designed grip. It's kind of got that Coke bottle kind of swell in the middle, which really sinks your hand. It's very, very comfortable in my opinion. And then you can see these cutouts for pinch grip. I can do pinch grip. It's super comfortable with this knife. And then like that grip I said where I like to put my thumb over top, I can put it like this, and it's super comfortable. Both knives are very sharp. This one's not quite as slicey because obviously it's very thick. It's a thick stock. So you're not going to be chopping up. You can chop up vegetables with it, but it's just not too enjoyable. I would say it still does it, but it's just not as enjoyable. You can see some. Oh no, that's not rust. That's just debris. I think I have a little bit of rust on here somewhere. Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. So you can see on the K329, you get these little tiny rust spots. And that's for me just having it in the snow and putting it back in the sheath. So still pretty stainless steel. Yeah, so I would say the grip or the handle design far better on the mountain lion. I like the deeper choil if you're going to have a choil. I prefer to just straight up not have a choil on both of these knives. They're not big enough to warrant a choil. And I'm slowly adopting Peterbilt Knife Guy's opinion that choils are maybe a little bit silly, at least for me. But yeah, this knife has a nice big belly on the blade, which would be good for skinning. You could process game with this. It is a pretty hefty knife because of the thickness and everything. It's got some weight to it. That's an advantage because, when you're chopping and delimbing and stuff like that, it chops quite well for a knife of its size. 7.3 inch blade on this. I had to make my wife a hiking stick not that long ago out of a dead tree, and it made really short work out of it, delimbing it and cutting it and everything. So, what a great knife that is. So, right now with my initial impressions of the Wilderness Warrior, they both have positives and negatives. I would say the Mountain Lion for me has probably more positives than the Wilderness Warrior. They're both aesthetically very good looking knives. I think the Mountain Lion's a little bit more functional. However, I do like the thinner stock on this knife as well. It's going to make it more slicey. It's going to make it a better general purpose knife. It's going to be better for cutting up vegetables at camp, cutting up food. You can still baton. It's not going to baton quite as well as that, just because, the more width, the better it splits typically. It's still going to split the wood though, regardless, so it's not really, doesn't really matter that much. And then, of course, my opinion is, when you're hiking, you want something lighter if possible. This is substantially lighter in feeling than this. I think it's a 4-ounce difference, but it feels substantially lighter. And having that little bit of a more abrupt kind of piercy tip on there matters for me, in case I get attacked by a wild animal. Should be able to stab a little bit, quite a bit more efficiently just because of that thinner blade. And theoretically, if you're stabbing in between ribs, believe it or not, ribs are pretty close together. So, you're going to fit hopefully in between those ribs a little bit easier to get at the vital organs. And, this is a one in probably 1 in a million kind of chance, but I'm the kind of person that's probably going to be that person because I spend a lot of time in the wilderness. If that hopefully never happens to me. But this guy's a little thicker, so you're going to have more trouble stabbing. And it's not going to be as wieldy, but it is still a pretty quick knife. So this is kind of more of a bushcraft-oriented knife, no doubt. For me, it's more woods-oriented, more survival-oriented, perhaps. However, this is also a very good survival-oriented knife because of its lightweight, because it's a little bit more stabby and piercing. It's got a very strong steel. I would be very surprised if I could really break that tip off or do anything to damage this knife. So I'm going to use this knife to do some chopping and stuff in the backyard, and we'll see how it does. I think it's going to do quite well. And we'll do a bit of a review on it maybe later in the summer, at the end of the summer, once I've used it a bit more. Could be earlier than that, depending on how much I get to use it. One thing I do want to compare before I finish this initial impressions. Look at that thumb cutout. You see how steep that is on the Wilderness Warrior? And on the Mountain Lion, it's very shallow. You see how shallow that is on the Mountain Lion, and then on Wilderness Warrior, it's super steep. That's a mistake, in my opinion, in the design of this handle. It just needs to be shallower. It needs to come out to like maybe here and just be shallow, just like it is on the Mountain Lion. It just make it a much better, more usable knife. So it's possible I'll modify these grips and just take a little bit off at some point. Can just use like some sandpaper or something for that. But yeah, pretty impressed with the Wilderness Warriors. It's a very nice knife. It feels pretty good in the hand. There's a couple detractors, like I mentioned. I do like the attitude adjuster. It's built in. You could use that for a whole bunch of different uses, which is nice. I like the lightweight. I like the stabby tip. Not a huge fan of the choil. I prefer the blade just to come back to here, more or less. It's not a big enough knife to warrant having a choil, in my opinion, but I will use the choil because it's there. Although it's pretty comfortable in that position, I guess. But yeah, it seems like a pretty good knife, honestly. I'd even go say it's a really good knife. I'm being very picky with these designs just because I've been using knives quite a bit and appreciating some of these features that some of these knives have. That Alex from Aurora Borealis Knives really has some of these design features dialed in. He does really good grips, and his blade designs are very good. They're simple in appearance but very functional. Like, that little swedge just adds the aesthetic to the mountain lion. Makes it a little bit more high speed, low drag looking. Whereas this guy laughs in its face because it's like high speed, low drag, just straight up. But pretty cool knife. I'm looking forward to using it. I would say initial impressions, I'm mildly disappointed by predominantly the handle design, I would say. Just needs a little bit of swell in the middle. Just a little bit of more of that Coke bottle swell. Just make it more comfortable. And then just make these grooves shallower for your finger cutouts, and it would be pretty good. I'd be a little bit happier with it. But overall, very great knife. And I'm looking forward to really using it for some serious tasks and stuff, and comparing it to the mountain lion. We might have like a shootout where, once I get some more firewood here, we'll split some pine, we'll feather stick, we'll cut up some vegetables, and we'll see, how each knife does and who kind of comes out on top. But my initial impressions would probably be the mountain lion to come out on top for a lot of things, especially the fire prep wood stuff and survival related stuff. But what will be interesting to do would be a stab test and just see how much more penetration, like get a few jean jackets or something like that and stack them and just stab. See how far each one goes. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that initial impressions video, and hope you have yourself a wonderful summer.